that. No, he's not going to be sending that probe out immediately. It's just kind of nice to see. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the not proxy 2K, but I mean, I'm surprised that game was as entertaining as it was. I mean, it was really cool seeing trying to see those quick positioning battles, trying to figure out exactly where both players want to engage. Those quick little pullbacks of zealots. That game had actually, that micro had quite a bit of intricacy to it. So that's the kind of stuff that I like. Kind of mixing that twitchy behavior with the tactics of StarCraft 2. And both players should be mirroring each other for just a little while. Nobody wants to do anything too crazy at this point. Now that Crane has taken his advantage, he's going to feel a lot more comfortable moving towards a kind of system where he is trying to play the macro game, trying to really just outplay his opponent rather than do little bits of tricky things. Now, those tricky things are something that I'm like a big fan of in StarCraft 2. I think it's very important to play mind games with your opponent, because when it comes down to it, if you show your opponent that you have a huge diversity of styles, then you're going to be that much farther ahead. Your opponent's never going to know what's coming, and they're never going to be comfortable. You're basically telling them you're not allowed to cut corners. And I think that's exactly what Arthur's going to be in a position, that's how he's going to be feeling going into this. I don't want to cut corners because Crane can just whip out something at any moment. Maybe he'll proxy 2-gate, and maybe I'll lose even if I scout it. Now both probes are going across the map. Arthur moving in. Looks like he's going to try to hide his probe. Not even going for that scout immediately. Just going to try to hide it in the side. Maybe get a pylon in his opponent's base. Crane, on the other hand, moving right in, just trying to get the scout off, sees that gateway, sees the cybernetics core, he sees the second gas going up. Arthur has the potential to cancel it if he so chooses if he's able to get this probe out of his base. But Arthur's going to be also trying to do this, putting his unit out there. So it does come around. Crane just going to probably just be, he can control that probe if he'd like. He can just kind of move it around, or he can get on out of there because he knows a stalker's going to be coming out very soon. Whereas this pylon, does that pylon see that unit? Does he see it? No, now he does. So moves in, sees both gases are down, both players chronoing out that warp gate. They don't want to spend too much on their probes. They definitely want to be able to keep up with their opponent's unit count. That's really the most important thing that you can worry about at this point. Crane's probe does get chased away across the map. Zealot and Stalker moving out for Arthur. And Twilight Council coming out for Arthur, and a Robo going down for Crane. Arthur can really supplement this, like I was saying before, that Blink Ops build, by getting that Robo down, so that he can indeed get that Observer out. Or he can just try to out-micro his opponent by getting down that Twilight Council and going for Blink. Really, both options are viable at this point. Now, it looks like Arthur has moved a couple of Stalkers out onto the map, and Crane also having moved a bunch of units out onto the map. Another probe going in here. Maybe he will end up actually going for a scout. Both probes scout each other, spot each other. Arthur, of course, taking that defensive point by putting his probe on his opponent's because he wasn't on his opponent's side of the map. He's like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. So Arthur, I don't know if I like this. Pulling out all three. Maybe he just wanted to make sure that if there was a pylon, he'd be able to take it out in time before it actually got up and running. So this probe's going to scout around. Crane, of course, hiding it in the most obvious place possible, the bottom corner. If you're going to check anywhere for something hidden, that'd probably be the spot. That might be the worst spot possible. We have a robotics support bay coming out from our yellow Protoss player, as we can see right over here, hidden way in the back of the base. While Arthur is going to be putting on as much pressure as possible once this blink finishes up. He should have an observer over here, doesn't he? Oh, Zealot does get up. He moves up. He can blink if he wants to, but there's not enough here yet. There's not enough Stalkers here. Should have to wait for another warp in, and his opponent's going to have Colossi behind this if he wants. But as long as he keeps these force fields down in the meantime, he will be able to keep out, this blink build. Let's see. Oh, Robo? Just now getting that Robo. He didn't go for the Observer, which is really unfortunate. That means that he's stuck down here. His opponent, of course, is going to have to put a lot of gas towards those sentries to keep them going. Actually, blinking forward, finally gets the blink up on. He blinks right on top of that. Immortal taking the Immortal immediately then going for those sentries so that no more units can happen. He should be blinking one by one onto that high ground to keep away from those Zealots. I think that would actually be the best move, but another Immortal pops out, and these Zealots are just dealing so much hull damage to these Stalkers. Now Immortal is also going to be able to do a ton of damage. So, not the most slick move from Arthur at all. I'm kind of unimpressed with how they played that. Blinking on top of that Immortal. That first Immortal was good. If he had kept those units down on the low ground and blinked up one by one onto the high ground, then those Zealots would have been delayed in dealing damage and a lot less useful. So, not the best tactical decision making, and then that's, I think, what lost that engagement for Arthur. Now that this pylon's going to go down, Arthur's going to be in a position where he's going to try to catch up to his opponent's economy. So check out that income tab. We see it's 27 to 30 probes in the favor of Crane, who definitely has the lead at this point. He has that army advantage. His opponent does have the upgrade advantage, having that tech up and running. But Crane also has these his revived support bay up, and that means the Colossi are going to start coming out. And if you're on 2 base and 2 base, really this entire game is going to come down to Colossi War, and Arthur's going to be behind in it. He will have Blink, but that's just not going to be enough to really deal with a few Colossi if Crane can just continue on his way, get that probe production going. He can actually chrono boost out a ton more probes to get his economy up and rolling, so that his opponent just can't catch up in terms of Colossi. Even if Slayer's Arthur comes out with a lot of Immortals, those Colossi dealing splash damage to all the other units is really where everything's going to come in. And if you're going that Colossi route, you're spending money on sentries as well as he had, it might be worth actually just throwing down a lot of Zealots to support your Colossi, just to tank damage in front of them while they deal all the damage in front. And then you're going to force your opponent, who has Blink, to kind of be moving around constantly, moving around the map in some attempt to take you off your game. So Crane for you is really in control of this game right now. He can decide where and when he wants to engage, basically. Slayer's Arthur has control for a little while longer because he has this Blink. That's what I had intended to say. That's what I thought, and that's not what came out of my mouth at all. Slayer's Arthur for the next couple minutes has the ability to kind of control where and when he wants to engage, and Crane kind of has to follow that for just a little while. But once those Colossi start coming out, that's when Crane starts to take back control. Not completely, because if he leaves his base for too long, his opponent can try to blink in. But he's going to be able to try to get that death ball up and running and when and where he wants to. Arthur, in the meantime, just really needs to be really careful. He can't really afford to lose any army units at this point, because that's just going to make his make the one push that he does go for that much weaker. He is fairly well saturated on the second base. He's not even grabbing these two gases, because he's just going to go for a huge gateway push, very, very heavy, zealot-heavy gateway push. He spent so much of his gas on these Immortals, and that's really all he's going to want to spend his gas on at this point. Oh, excuse me. And sentries. But it looks like Arthur trying to engage misses for just a second there. He has a couple units going around different sides trying to flank his opponent, whose Colossi are going to be super vulnerable unless he engages back here. There's no easy way that he's going to be able to engage in this spot, because his opponent can come from two sides. Blink Stalkers can come from two sides, blink right on top of those Colossi and try to take them out. With Immortals following up, those Colossi should fall pretty quickly. He really needs to try to engage back here, so even if his opponent gets up there, he's going to be in a position to deal with it. If he can put his Colossi on this high ground, that'd be actually pretty sweet too. Of course, Slayer's Arthur does in fact have an observer up here, so we can see exactly where his enemy's army movements are, and that's going to be super effective in trying to figure out where and when to engage. He wants to make sure that his opponent's in a position where those Colossi are really, really vulnerable, but, without a proxy pylon out here, this army is only getting weaker and weaker as time goes on, so he really needs to make a decision. Am I going to go in? Am I going to go out? This contain doesn't even really mean anything. And with that observer dying, there's no reason to stay out here. Yeah, he's got to get out of here. Now he's got to try to buy this time. It looks like he's going for this third, but that's really scary because he doesn't You know, he is so behind the Colossi count. If his opponent pushes, Colossi are going to make the entire difference in this battle. I'll go ahead and check out that income tab. It looks like incomes are relatively similar, but that doesn't really mean anything at this point, given these 4 Colossi that are out. And now it looks like Crane is also going to have Blink, as he is researching from that Twilight Council. He has +1 weapons on the way, and that might even trigger an attack.